What's going on, people? So, you know what time it is. It's time for a reaction video. So, this is going to be about this ostensibly autistic woman and her, reaction throughout her life to the social dynamics between, women and friendships and all of that. So, yeah, let's get into this. All right. We're at 495 subscribers. Maybe we'll get to 500 someday. But anyways, let's get into this. You know what time it is. I'm not in the mood for this bullshit.
Let's talk about why female social dynamics genuinely terrifies me as an autistic woman.
All right, well, first of all, every woman nowadays says she's autistic, like literally every single one, right? Especially like with this, she's attractive, she has the tattoos and the hair and all that. Like, they all have the same exact narrative or storyline. It's like, I'm autistic. It's like, here's the thing is like, autistic is, it's characterized by not really being able to pick up on social cues. But as a woman, you don't need to pick up on social cues because social happenings or, especially when it comes to like dating, but I know she's talking about like other women, but they come to you, right? Like the socialization comes to you when you're a woman. Like as a man, you have to be like a god of socializing in order to be able to move up the social hierarchy, right? And even just to be considered like normal in terms of, neurotypicality, if you have even, a modicum sized bone of non-social inclination inside of you as a man, it's going to be a struggle to get to the point where you could pass as neurotypical. So I mean, like as a man, it's a lot more difficult, but as a woman, like you don't really even need to pick up on social cues, you know what I mean? So let's see what this is all about.
Before I get into today's video, I just want to make a very quick but sincere disclaimer because I am genuinely so scared of how people are going to react, specifically women. Like, women scare me. You guys have no idea how much women scare me. And I think that's just a testament to how traumatizing socializing could feel as an autistic woman. The patterns of behavior and socialization that I'm going to be deconstructing in today's video is not going to apply to every woman out there. And obviously, it's going to get more complex and intricate as we start to talk about different cultures, as we start to talk about different gender identities, gender.
Bro, this whole autism thing, it's like the new quirk, you know what I mean? Like these girls, let me get some tattoos and like say I'm autistic. Oh my god, like I'm really hot and like I got these tattoos and like do my makeup all perfect and I'm like thick and like have the perfect body and perfect face, but like I'm autistic, so like see how like I'm just different. It's like shut the fuck up, dude. Like for real. Like god damn, bro. As a millennial, like being 34, I'm gonna try not to do that whole boomer thing of back in my day, but it was like, again, back in my day, sorry, I have to say it, like if you were a kid growing up and you had trouble making eye contact, your parents just made you make eye contact. They were like, hey, what are you doing? Look at people when they talk to you. And it was just like beaten into you, not necessarily physically, I just mean like, beaten metaphorically into you as you grew up to make eye contact with people, so like that was the cure, you know what I mean, to like autism, I guess you would call it. Shit. Now it's just like it's like a fun sort of quirky trait that women say they have. I'm autistic. Shut up.
Presentations, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, because I'm generalizing in a sense, I'm not going to be able to get into all those little intricacies. But just know that just because I'm not getting into those intricacies doesn't mean that I'm ignorant to those intricacies existing, Even though I'm talking about these are behaviors that women tend to exhibit, and this is how it tends to affect autistic women. It doesn't mean that men can't exhibit these behaviors. It doesn't mean that these behaviors can't affect men. And it doesn't mean that if you don't perfectly fit within the confines of what I'm describing, it doesn't apply to you and it can't apply to you. Obviously, every situation is going to be a little bit different, but like I said in my last video, I'm taking a concept and I'm trying to deconstruct it, and I'm trying to present that concept to you guys. The only way I could do this is by generalizing to a certain extent, because if I don't do that, this video would be hours long if I were to divulge every little detail.
How long is this video? 35? I don't know if we're going to do the whole video, but like we'll see.
In this system into its subcategories of how it could branch off in all these different ways. Like, it's just not possible. Unless I'm writing a book with multiple chapters, unless I'm making a documentary, like I can't get into every little nitty-gritty detail. So I understand I'm going to be generalizing. I understand that not all women are going to be like this. Although I'm going to be speaking on the harms of those behaviors, I understand that those behaviors are born from oppressive systems existing. And I also understand that those same behaviors of survival are oftentimes very, very harmful for certain types of people, oftentimes marginalized people. I understand the nuance.
Jump cut.
Okay, I don't want people to think
she fucked up. She had to edit. She had to edit.
Think that just because I'm clearly naming harmful behaviors that a lot of women and groups of women can exhibit, it means that I'm not understanding
I guess she's doing
why
a
those
lot
behaviors
of jump
exist
cuts,
in the
right?
first place. It doesn't mean I'm demonizing these women who are like this.
Yeah, she's doing a
just
lot of jump cuts. I don't know why I focused on
map
that one,
out
but
a system and how it affects every person involved within the system. This is the journey of deconstruction. This is the journey of understanding how our oppressive systems actually impact us as humans, our behaviors, our copes, and how these aren't just ambiguous behaviors that we adopt. They have very clear reasons and causations. And so therefore they have very real effects on people who don't know how to properly exist within those.
I'm not gonna lie, like I've completely, like the last minute she's been speaking, I've been just like in one ear out the fucking other. Like my ADHD just like completely took over and was like because like she's just giving a disclaimer, but it's been like a 2-minute long disclaimer. Like how long of a fucking disclaimer do you need? Just like get to the point, you know what I mean?
Systems. And so I hope this disclaimer covered everything about what I wanted to say before I get into today's video.
No idea what
As
you
can
just
see,
said.
I'm very anxious, right? Anytime
No
I
fucking
make
idea.
a video deconstructing behaviors of women and how we're socialized, I always get really, really intensely negative responses. The only video I've ever made where I had to turn comments off was when I was trying to talk about fashion and its correlation to neurodivergence versus neurotypicals. And when women on the internet got a hold of that, they were just so mean.
Yeah, but like all of these girls who are neurodivergent, quote unquote, and like, you know, claim to be autistic, like they all dress the same, you know, they all dress in these like really like revealing, like sexy outfits, and they got the tattoos and the, you know, the dyed hair, and it looks really good. Like that aesthetic, like I think it's hot as hell. But you know, they have no trouble in terms of fitting in with their fashion, you know what I mean?
I just have fears that the same thing is going to happen with this video. I hope it doesn't, because I think this conversation is so important to have. And I really want to believe that people are going to listen to this video and listen to what I have to say with good faith and not be immediately defensive and want to start.
Okay. This is probably geared toward women anyways, but you know what? Clean slate. Let's watch this. Chill. You know, with a chill mindset. We're not going to prejudge. We're not going to, you know, be an asshole. Let's just watch this. Let's see what it's all about. How long has this disclaimer been? Bro, it's been a 5-minute long disclaimer. Are you kidding me? How long of a disclaimer? Is it going to be the whole video as a disclaimer? It's like, it's a 35-minute long video. At like 34 minutes and a half at the end, she's just like, it's hard being autistic. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye. Like, that's like the the meat of her argument, you know what I mean, is like a 4-second long sentence. I don't know, man.
Fights and whatnot. I hope that people are going to have really, really necessary and nuanced conversations with this topic, because it's going to have to do with the deconstruction of gender roles, patriarchy, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, fuck.
And honestly, ableism as a subcategory of all this. I don't know how it's going to go. I hope this
patriarchy, I mean, like, the thing is, I'm not left or right or political or whatever the fuck, you know, but like the thing with patriarchy, I mean, you have 165 subscribers and you claim to be autistic. If you were an autistic man, okay, like in the like you like actually autistic man, you're not going to get that many subscribers. Like, you're going to work some dungeon job in like a warehouse or something like that for like minimum wage and have a shit life. But you can, you know, put on makeup and you know, get your tattoos and have a pretty face, and you could be autistic, your own words, and have 165,000 subscribers. You're never going to have to work again. Like, you're never going to have to work in your life, period. You probably have never actually worked a real job. I'm guessing you're one of these, like, you went to college and then, you know, started making YouTube videos and here you are. I don't know anything about you, but it's like, you're talking about the patriarchy, but like, bro, like if you were shifted into a male version of yourself and had to live that life from start to finish, like, you wouldn't be in this position. Okay. So like, you would have more of a disadvantage being a male in your particular situation if you were fucking autistic and can't make eye contact with people and, you know, just, you know, had to try to like do whatever you could to get by. Like, you wouldn't be in this position. But since you're an attractive female, even with your autism, you can get 165,000 subscribers and never have to work a day in your life. So that doesn't really fall in line with the patriarchy narrative. You know what I mean? Mother of God,
disclaimer does help somewhat in allowing people to better understand where I'm coming from so that they won't misunderstand me. But then again, usually people who are already committed to misunderstanding me don't really care to actually listen to these disclaimers, which is the irony of all this. But I at least wanted to do my due diligence in putting this disclaimer out there and explaining where I'm coming from. But yes, with that being said, let's just dive into this video. Let's have this important discussion and let's deconstruct together.
Just texted my friend if they wanted to go to lunch and they said sure. Oh, I didn't know that you wanted to sever ties with me. Oh, I didn't know that I was a hideous beast and you hated me. I didn't know that. It's okay. I'll just block your number. You've probably...
Bro, this is what happens when a country hasn't been at war for like several generations. And I don't really count the Iraq war or like, you know, Afghanistan. Like, I don't really count those as like wars because there wasn't really like a draft. It wasn't like an existential crisis for people in America. I mean like world wars, you know what I mean? Like where everyone is losing their shit and like we better fucking win or life as we know it is going to go to hell. That type of a war, right? Like this is what happens when we're just like in times of peace and we have no real problems to focus on. So we're just like, you texted me, sure. Oh my God, it's over. Oh my God. God damn, bro.
You already blocked mine. You probably fucking hate me. You probably have a voodoo doll and you just keep fucking poking it.
Oh, have you watched any good shows recently?
Yeah, actually, I just finished up Severance. The finale was insane.
Oh yeah, I heard that one was good. What toppings did you get?
I got M&Ms.
Oh, just M&Ms?
Yeah, mini M&Ms.
Cool. Did you want to know what toppings I got?
As an autistic woman, engaging in group dynamics with other women has honestly been one of the most terrifying social experiences of my life. because so much of female socialization relies on covert communication. There's this entire invisible relational network operating underneath the surface at all times. Everyone is subtly tracking each other emotionally, socially, relationally. People are keeping track of who affirmed who reciprocated, who mirrored who correctly, who is aligned, who is safe, who is a threat, who belongs, and who doesn't. And as an autistic woman, I often feel like everyone else got the manual except me. Now, one of the biggest behaviors that women within group dynamics exhibit that genuinely scares me is the giving to get dynamic. This is basically when women perform care, and it's not necessarily because they want to, although it can come from genuine care, but the primary reason for them performing care is to actually get their own needs met by you. Usually this behavior is born from women not being able to directly communicate when they have a need, and so the only way to get a need met is to first do it for another person, because now that person is obligated to do the same thing back for you in the name of reciprocity.
So how many siblings did you say you had?
I have two. I have two brothers.
Oh my gosh, that must have been so fun growing up with two brothers.
Dude, this is like bringing me back to the terrible days of dating that I've been on. Like, how many siblings do you have? What's your favorite color? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's like a fucking job interview, you know what I mean? It's like, I think I mentioned this in my last live, or maybe the one live. Well, I guess technically I'm going live with myself, but I mean, my last reaction video, except it was the one before that, so it was like 2 videos before, I think, where I was saying I went on this one date with this woman. She was like 10 years older than me, so she was like in her like early 40s or something, I don't even. And we were at this bar for like 2 hours. I didn't even drink. You know, and it's like an interview, like questions back and forth, and you know, and then I never even heard from her after that, you know. So like these types of questions are just so mind numbing because it just takes me back to those horrible days. Dating is like a literal act of masochism.
And so this becomes an issue when women end up overextending themselves and offering love and care to other people when they genuinely don't want to and aren't capable of it. How often do we hear women guilting other people, whether it's their own children, family, friends, partners? I do this for you. I sacrifice this for you. Why can't you just do this back for me? I do so much for you guys and I never get what I need back. You guys don't even care. We hear this all the time, and it's because women are fundamentally so socialized.
Wait a minute. Yeah, she has a ring on the ring finger, but like she has rings on all of her fingers. So it's like, is she married but then she has like rings on all the other fingers, or is it like she puts rings on all of her other fingers so that she could put a ring on her left ring finger to like blend in with the other ones because she's not married and she doesn't want to make it weird by only having a ring on her, you know, ring finger, or, you know what I mean? Like she wants to put rings on as many fingers as possible so that she can put it on that finger so it just blends in, you know? So is she married? Is she not? Interesting.
Not ask other people to meet a certain need we have, right? We're not taught that our needs are valid to begin with, let alone being able to ask.
Oh, can you hear that? The ice cream truck? I swear to God, the ice cream truck in my neighborhood is, I swear the ice cream truck in my neighborhood is what do you call it? It's like a money laundering scheme for drug dealers, because like they'll be going out in like early spring, it'll be like raining and muggy, and I'll hear the ice cream truck on like random ass days. It's not like they're out every day. And I remember one time I looked at the driver and it was like this 18-year-old Edgar kid, you know, like this Mexican guy with the Edgar cut, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? It was just really odd. It's a very, like, I expect like an older guy, you know, maybe like 70-year-old dude, retired. He just does this on the side to like make kids laugh, and you know, like it brings him joy inside. It's just his kind of like hobby. Makes a little cash, but it's not for the cash. He's already retired type shit. It was a fucking Edgar. Like, what? It's got to be a money laundering scheme. You know what I mean? Like, they're selling drugs, and they're like, but how do we explain all the income? Oh, dude, let's do a fucking ice cream truck, Holmes. You know what I mean? Like,
ask for it confidently and assertively is also not going to be taken well by others. And so this is why a lot of women end up self-sacrificing and overgiving, not out of genuine love and care, but out of simply needing to get their own needs met. And this is also why a lot of women also harbor a deep sense of resentment when people in their lives are not reciprocating love and care back to them.
What toppings did you get?
I got M&Ms.
Oh, just M&Ms.
Yeah, mini M&Ms.
Cool. Did you want to know what toppings I got?
And this becomes an issue for people like me who take things literally as a default. There's been so many times throughout my life where a woman will compliment me, for example. I will just say thank you, right? And I won't necessarily return the compliment back, because to me, it's just like, I see it as you noticing something and wanting to compliment me. And I'm going to receive that compliment, that gesture, and let it actually sink in and appreciate it.
but that is actually the rational response. You know what I mean? Like, I know like you're implying it's because you're autistic and you're not reading into the social cues, but the rational response, if somebody goes out of their way to compliment you, should be, it's an isolated incidence of being complimented. And you know what? I can relate to this when I'm in the gym, because like I'm jacked, got a lot of muscle. And last time I was at the gym, this exact thing happened to me. A random guy came up to me and complimented me, you know, on my physique, saying, "Oh, you look big, man. Like, you know, you look really good. I'm trying to look like that." And, you know, I take it as this is an isolated incident, because it's happened a lot over the years where like random guys will come up to me and like compliment me like that in the gym. And at first I kind of had this reaction of like, oh my God, should I like compliment them back? And like, you know, I would be uncomfortable, but now I'm like a lot more comfortable with it. I just like kind of take the compliment. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's motivation right there. And, you know, sometimes it'll come to me to look at them and give them a compliment back. You know, like the last time I told him, you know, hey, you're looking good too. Look at that vascularity, because he had like a lot of veins in his arms. And I was like, and he's like, yeah, but like you're big, man. And I was like, yeah, but you know what? Being vascular, when you see all those veins popping, it makes you feel like a badass. So, hey, you keep it up too. And, you know, you can, you know, it's like a reciprocal sort of thing if it naturally falls in that direction. But like if, you know, if it's too much work, or like if there's no natural, you know, compliment to give back, I'm not going to do that, you know. My default state would be like she's saying, just to take it as an isolated incident, which is the way you should take it. This whole manipulation of like, well, you need to ask me, you know, like expecting something, like having expectations when you go up to a complete stranger, that is manipulation. And it shouldn't be treated as like the normal social, like a normal social step in any sort of procedure. This should not be a normal social procedure. You know what I mean?
It. And so in moments where I'm not returning a compliment back, it will pretty immediately be interpreted as me actively rejecting this person and their needs. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because if someone's complimenting you because they genuinely want to, they're not going to interpret you saying thank you as rejection, right? But if someone is complimenting you specifically for you to compliment them back and you don't compliment them back, of course they're going to interpret your lack of complimenting them back as you actively rejecting them and not liking them. Does that make sense? And obviously, as an autistic person, I'm not going to know why you're doing something to me. I'm not going to interpret the underlying meaning behind it. And this is why I think over time, I've grown to be very weary and almost skeptical and cynical of the love, care, and connection that women offer me, because I never really know how genuine it is, or whether or not this woman is only saying or doing certain things because it's expected, it's normal, or they need something from me. But also they're gonna hold it against me when I'm not going to immediately jump into doing the same things back for them, right? It's like, am I a dog? Just because you throw a treat at me doesn't mean that I now owe you something, right? If you want something, ask me, and I can figure out whether or not I'm willing to do it for you. It should be.
I guess like my personal take on this as a guy would be like, okay, if I had to put myself in your shoes, why would I need friends anyways? Like, why, like, what's the point? You know, I mean, right now in my life, I don't really hang out with many people. And like, if I really wanted to, I could build like a social, whatever, like a social group that I'm a part of. But it's just, my life is a lot more peaceful without it, you know. Now, if somebody comes along and poses like a significant enough force in my life in a good way to where they sway me toward being more social and like going out and doing stuff, yeah, for sure. You know, like right now, like I could go, 2 months without going out, doing anything social. And if like one of my friends, I haven't heard from in a while, let's say he's back in town or whatever, and wants to go out and drink and party or whatever, you know what? I'd probably do it. I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. Whatever. Why not? You know what I mean? So I could switch it on. I could switch it off. So like, I guess like if I were in this girl's shoes, I would just be like, okay, fuck it. Like these girls play too many games. I'm just going to be by myself. Especially, she has a lot of subscribers, 165,000. So like, she has basically the rest of her life's income in the bag. So she doesn't really need to go out. She doesn't have any reason to ever rely on other females. You know what I mean? So she doesn't have to actually go through any of this like social manipulation bullshit that she's describing unless she puts herself in that situation,
Be that simple, but I understand that women aren't socialized to be able to ask for things. So in a sense, I understand where this harmful behavior comes from, but at the same time, it has really profound harmful effects on a lot of people, relationally speaking, because it doesn't foster autonomy within relationship dynamics. All of a sudden, if you're not immediately ready to reciprocate something back to someone, it means that you don't care. It means that you're selfish and all of these things. When in reality, you have to call it spade for spade. You're using your love and care as a tool to get your needs met from another person by forcing that love and care onto them and now making them obligated to do the same thing back for you. It's just not okay. That's very transactional. That's very enmeshed. It's just not healthy, And what makes all of this even more difficult to deal with is women's propensity to avoid conflict. So this is what's so interesting about our society, is that I feel like women are more widely socialized to create intimate relationship dynamics compared to men. Again, I know I'm generalizing here. Men can relate to the women can relate to the men, everything in between. You can relate to both, whatever it is, okay? But stereotypically speaking, women are socialized to have more intimate relationships. And so we're connecting with each other more intimately. But at the same time, that is the very reason why a lot of women don't feel comfortable being more confrontational and direct with each other, because we see confrontation as an act of betrayal, right? As an overt signal of, I don't support you and I don't love you and I don't agree with you. This creates a very unhealthy dynamic because on one hand, you have all of these very covert, invisible expectations that people are constantly holding you accountable to and holding themselves accountable to. And they're oftentimes scorekeeping with everyone involved. But at the same time, you could go through multiple situations of offending someone, hurting someone, and yet they never bring it up with you. They never talk about it. They never confront you because they don't want to seem like they're too much. They don't want to seem like they're bringing up issue, causing problems. They don't want.
But they are too much, right? Like, they are too much. If there are multiple instances of somebody being offended but not bringing it up, like, unless you're like 100% socially inept, like you just do not have the ability to understand like what insults are or something, chances are these are like subtle things that you've said that are being misconstrued, and that would take a lot of mental gymnastics to misconstrue to the point to where you would be offended by them. So what that means is these are things that you've said where the girl shouldn't have been offended in the first place. Like, she's just making a big deal out of nothing. So her bottling it up is basically just her bottling up a bunch of bullshit reactions that she shouldn't have had in the first place. And those are toxic people, right? These are people with like BPD and like all these other, mental disorders that you shouldn't really want to be around anyways. So, yeah.
Want to come off as too sensitive. They don't want to confront you and make you feel bad because that would make you feel like they don't care about you. And so women will oftentimes keep things to themselves, even though underneath the surface, there's bubbling resentment of unmet needs and frustration that they would actually want to talk about and resolve, but they don't. Because of this, you don't know that there is an issue until it's too late, right? And when I say too late, what that usually looks like is women will just ghost you out of nowhere, right? Whether you're dating a woman, whether you're friends with a woman, whether you're family with a woman, they will just disappear out of nowhere and you don't even know what happened. And then oftentimes when you do talk to them about it, the conversations at that point, not even helpful. It's not about conflict resolution. It's just about accusing you, and it's about letting out the resentment, because at that point they already identify.
Yeah, it's some BPD bullshit. Like, girls that I've dated in the past where it's like, you meet them and everything's like bubbly and perfect in the beginning, and they're super positively receptive to you, and everything is smooth and just seems flawless. And then it kind of goes neutral after a few weeks, and then one day they just ghost you and you're like, all right, I guess she found another dude, which of course that's what happened, But, and then like later on down the line, sometimes you will come back into contact with them and all of a sudden they have all of these narratives that never happened, that she convinced herself happened in her own mind, and you're the bad guy, and you this and you that, and accusation this and allegation that, and it's just a complete load of bullshit, right? So like what she's describing is like some BPD ridden bitch who is not an example of like a mentally healthy person to begin with, who you should have a friendship or dating relationship with at all by any stretch of the imagination, right? Like, especially not a dating relationship. I mean, that's dangerous. If you're a dude and the girl has BPD, like, she's going to fuck your world up, like 100%. But yeah, what she's describing right now is just, mental illness, like mental health disorders. That's what she's describing. So there's that.
By you as a bad person, because that's what it takes for them to walk away from you or to finally communicate their issues with you. And there's just something deeply wrong about that, where women feel like the only way to justify their frustration, their resentment, is to definitively label someone as a bad person in order to finally say, how could you have done this? How could you have missed this? How could you have made this mistake again and again? Those days where I talked to you less, how could you have not seen that there was an issue there and the issue was this and you should have done this in order to resolve the issue? I shouldn't have brought it up to you. You should have saw the signs and the signals. You should have known.
How has he not noticed that I'm mad at him? We haven't talked in 20 minutes.
I hear it all the time, whether it's relationship, friendship, or whatever. This over.
All right. If you're a dude and a girl's giving you a 20-minute silent treatment and you don't notice, then you're actually stupid. But yeah.
Arching theme of they should have known, you should have known. And I vehemently, as an autistic woman, as an autistic human, detest that concept of you should have known. And of course, to a certain extent, right? If you have already had an in-depth conversation with a person about certain expectations and needs, then yes, it would make sense that you're frustrated that someone continuously doesn't do something that you've discussed or pick up on signs that you already explained to them, right? That's a different story. What I'm talking about is a person who never, ever confronts another person about issues and expectations. There's never a discussion about it, and yet they are convinced that everyone should have known, that other people should have known, despite no conversation being had. That is the behavior I am vehemently detesting as an autistic person, because I genuinely do not think you should expect another person to know when you're hurt, to know when you have a certain need, a certain expectation, unless you have already talked to them about it directly and given them a chance to show you whether or not they're able to implement that knowledge into the relationship. And a lot of female dynamics are born from them genuinely thinking it's a reasonable expectation that other people should know what they should and shouldn't do, say and shouldn't say, without an overt, explicit conversation about it. Because women are taught to be agreeable, to not complain, to not directly express their needs, to avoid overt confrontation, instead of directly telling you there's an issue, many women will continue smiling at you. They'll continue acting friendly toward you, all while resentment is actually quietly building underneath the surface. And so when the day finally comes where they suddenly ghost you, they cut you off, they turn cold, you're left sitting there trying to reverse engineer what happened. Was it my tone? Was it my body language? Was it something I forgot to say? Was it something I said too bluntly? Did I not text back fast enough? Did I fail to emotionally mirror them correctly? Did I unknowingly?
Yeah, but like women like this, like as soon as they ghost you, they're just gonna repeat that exact cycle with the next friend that they replace you with. So somebody else will come into the mix, right? Somebody else will enter her life as a new friend, and then they'll go through the exact same rigmarole of, you know, at first everything's peachy, and then resentment builds up, and then she ghosts them, right? Rinse and repeat. Replaces that person with a new person. Goes through the same rigmarole, you know, steps 1, 2, 3, replaces them. And it's just mental disorder. That's what it is. It's just BPD, whatever, right? Like whatever disorder it is, it's mental disorder. And like, okay, she gets rid of you, but you should actually be thankful that this happens. Like people like this are not people you want in your life to begin with, because they're emotionally unstable. Like imagine like if they were able to make this big of a deal out of you literally doing nothing. And it's not like you're ignoring them for no reason, because you're still interacting with them, but it's just like you're not interacting with them in the exact way that they want you to. Like imagine if you actually had a real conflict with somebody like this, how they would take, you know, the criticisms that you would make of them. Like how would they take that? They would take any sort of criticism, even if it was constructive and coming from a place of genuine goodness, they would take that as an attack, and you know, they would run with it, and they would say, look at how much of an evil bitch she is, and use it as a way to pin you as the bad guy. So, you know, like you should count your blessings count your blessings, quote unquote, you know, if people like this discard you, right? Because like in a way, maybe she's mad because you aren't taking the bait. She's like, damn it, she's not taking the bait. She's not reciprocating, my compliments, which means she's not as easily manipulated as I wanted her to be, which means I can't use her as a pawn in my bullshit master of puppets plan that I have for her. You know what I mean?
Violate some sort of invisible social contract. And because nobody explicitly tells you what happened, you end up trapped in this cycle of hypervigilance and self-analysis. This is why so many...
That's only if you give a fuck. Like, if you don't give a fuck about having friends, like, it's so liberating, because it's like, anytime something doesn't work out with somebody, you're just like, okay, cool, whatever. My life hasn't changed at all. And if somebody comes along that is a positive addition to your life and could potentially be a good friend, then it's just like a bonus, So your default state should be, I am so cool with just being a lone wolf. Me personally, I operate most optimally as a lone wolf. So I have no problem with that. But most people, for some reason, they can't. Most people, they need to have like friends and socialization and going out and all of that bullshit. So like, if you can switch your mindset up to be more inclined to just being comfortable being by yourself and not having to have the background bullshit chatter of people around you that don't really care about you, it'll change everything, because then you won't be dependent on others for happiness, or you won't be dependent on their validation for happiness. The only reason you would care about these things, like, oh my God, she bottled it up because she bottled up all of these emotions because she couldn't, directly address me about it. The only reason you care is because you care about her validation in the first place. Like, who gives a fuck? Somebody like that is crazy. Okay? Like, just to put it bluntly, they're fucking crazy. You shouldn't want somebody like that in your life anyways,
Autistic people, when dealing with these sorts of relational dynamics, we end up just ruminating on what could have went wrong, what did we do wrong, and we end up just picking ourselves apart for probably hundreds of reasons that don't even matter. But it's because we don't know what happened that we have to just keep looking for what went wrong. Think about it. If there's any neurotypical non-autistic person watching this, when you're non-autistic, you could generally understand, okay, I see why this person's frustrated with me, or I could see why this falling out happened. I did this, or I failed to do this. But as an autistic person, you could genuinely be so lost as to what you could have said or did wrong, how you could have failed. And so from our point of view, you could be doing the most trying to maintain a relationship, and then out of nowhere, someone disappears, or out of nowhere, someone doesn't like you anymore. And then you're immediately faced with the consequence without even knowing that the consequence was coming. And so there's nothing you could have done to prevent it. And then there's nothing you could do to make up for it. And
well, yeah, I mean, like, guys deal with this too. Like, I've had this exact experience with guys like I've worked with, or like friends throughout the years, where it's like things are like really good in the beginning, right when we meet, and there's a lot of like back and forth and like communication and joking around, and then somewhere along the lines they just kind of give me the cold shoulder, maybe at certain jobs that I've had, I would have a certain type of co-worker friendship type of deal with a guy that I work with. And then like randomly down the line, they just they fall off the map. They don't really talk to me like they used to. They don't, the connection's not what it used to be. It's kind of like almost like they avoid me. I have no idea what the fuck happened, and I think what it is people have this tendency, kind of like what she's describing. They have this tendency to like assume that things will be static and 100% the same all the time, right? Like the jokes and the back and forth and the banter and the and as soon as there's a little bit of a lull in there, most people, they just can't handle it. Like for me, if there's a lull, I'm just like, okay, whatever, you know, I'm tired. Maybe he's tired, whatever. Like, you know, the jokes aren't hitting, you know, we don't have the same energy, but you know, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You know, it's not that deep. Whereas the other guy, you know, might be really sensitive to that, you know, and he might think, oh my God, this coworker friendship, it's over. It will never recover. It's not the same as it has been. You know, we had a little bit of a lull. It's completely done now. There's nothing we can do. Whereas for me, I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's not that deep. Like, we're the same. Like, we're cool still, you know? And this is just assuming that like not something bad happened, but maybe there was like, you know, a missed, you know, joke. Like, you know, maybe I was walking or he was walking or something. And let's say like I'm walking down the hall and he says my name or like wants to make a joke, but I genuinely don't hear him or something. And he thinks I'm ignoring him. Right. And then maybe I realize that he said my name because, you know, maybe I was like tuning it out and then I'm like, oh wait, shit. And I turn around and then he's already gone or something, you know, those like missed sort of like opportunities for, you know, bonding with somebody. And so for me, it's like, oh shit, well, you know, shit happens, whatever. It's not that deep, you know. And if it was the other way around, because I've had those types of things happen to me too, where somebody accidentally ignored me, I'm just like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's not that deep. It doesn't change anything. But for most people, you know, most people are actually really sensitive, right? And especially when it comes to like banter with friends, you know, they're very sensitive to any sort of disruption in the flow of positive interactions. And so that could completely ruin the whole thing for them. And to you, it's not a big deal, but to them, it's like life or death. It's like, oh my God, it's done. It's over. Right. And that's, you know, a lot of the times, you know, there's nothing you can do to fix that, right? And so that's kind of what she's describing in a way, right? Either the person has a mental disorder, like I said, or it's just, you know, they're a normal person, but they fall into this habit, as normal people do, of being overly sensitive to, you know, any sort of bumps in the road of social interaction with somebody that they're cool with, right? They're overly sensitive to it. So
there's nothing you could do to learn from it moving forward. And so you're constantly scared that a consequence is going to happen and you're going to fail somehow because you inherently are wrong and you inherently are a failure. It doesn't make you feel good about yourself. It just doesn't. So another thing about female dynamics that genuinely scares me is how much we're socialized to enmesh with each other. Now, for those of you who may not know what enmeshment means, it is basically a relationship pattern where emotional boundaries are so blurred that individuals lose their sense of self. This is very, very, very prominent within female dynamics. Enmeshment is so deeply ingrained in how women tend to bond with other people. I am you, you are me. There's nothing I say or do that you wouldn't say or do, and therefore you shouldn't say or do things that I wouldn't, right? There's this constant need to like be as similar to each other and assimilated to each other as possible. I remember a lot of my female friends would change what they were wearing or looking like depending on what I was choosing to wear and look like. Little things like if I was going out with a friend, she would call me ahead of time and ask me, what are you wearing? What is your makeup gonna look like? What are you gonna do with your hair? And little things like that made me feel really suffocated because it's like, I don't want you to change yourself to match me, right? And that was deeply ingrained in a lot of my female friendships throughout my life, is just this need to be exactly like each other. And you don't have space to be your own person or be autonomous without it directly triggering your female friend. For example, if I tell my female friend, I wanna put some time and effort into learning American Sign Language, right? Instead of her taking curiosity over this interest of mine, immediately she starts picking herself apart. Oh my God, I feel like I'm so lazy. I feel like during my free time, all I do is rest and eat and sleep. And I feel like I should probably start learning something new too. Oh, I'm so useless. Either that, or she'll start being defensive, right? Oh, I just feel like I work all the time and I don't even have free time. And whatever free time I have, I feel like all I could do is just rest and nap and do chores. I don't have as much free time as you to learn a language. It's like this weird thing where instead of seeing you as your own person, she sees you as a measuring tool for herself. And so now you're given the responsibility of needing to reassure her of her existence. Oh, you're doing fine. You don't have to learn ASL if you don't want to. You could nap on your free time if you want to. Or you have to do emotional labor for her when she's defensive and telling you that she doesn't have free time to learn something new. And you have to be like, okay, yeah, you don't have to learn something new if you don't want to. Or you have to downplay yourself to make herself feel better. That's even worse, where you have to be like, oh yeah, I do have all this free time and I may as well do something useful with it, because otherwise I would have nothing to do with my...
Wait. This is actually kind of funny. So like, video starts here and then it says 35:34. I don't know. Video starts here at 35:34. That's like the end of the video. So it would actually be kind of funny. I was thinking that would be such a funny top comment though. If it was like some dude and he was like, video starts here, it's like the very end of the fucking video.
I'm not as busy as you. You're doing a lot more important stuff than I am. Like, we see it all the time. And if you don't do any of that emotional labor for her, if you don't reassure her, she will just hate you even more. And all of that is born from you just simply existing and being yourself. And that sense of self is just fundamentally different than who she is. That's how deeply enmeshment runs within female dynamics, where your own autonomous existence, your own unique human traits.
Well, you know, there's not really much here, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, okay, I'll keep going a little bit. It's fine.
Are seen as a direct threat to another person's existence or an affirmation to their existence.
I don't dislike this girl, by the way. She seems pretty cool. Like, you know, I haven't seen any of her other videos, so like, I'm not saying that, you know, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's making some good points here, you know, and whatever. Maybe she actually has autism. There are some signs, like the eye contact and the hand gestures, all of that. So, like, you know, she could be one of these, like, legit, she has autism. Maybe she's not one of these women. I was just making the point that there are, in addition to women who do actually have autism, like probably her, there are a lot who LARP, and they just kind of step into that sort of that role play of, oh my God, I have autism. And then they, you know, they do the aesthetic, you know, with the tattoos and the makeup and the dyed hair and the glasses and, you know, and they're thick and they're always beautiful and sexy as fuck, you know, but then they're like, look at me, I have autism. You know, she probably actually does, like, based on some of the mannerisms and what I'm observing here, but she's a hot girl, so she can have autism and have 165,000 subs and never have to work a day in her life. You know what I mean? If she was an Asian guy with autism, he would be scrubbing the floor of the bathroom of a dungeon warehouse somewhere for minimum wage, while his 5'3" fucking fat bald boss came and, you know, started yelling at him like, what the fuck, you should have been done with this shit an hour ago, what the fuck are you doing? So, you know, there's that.
Or a signal for them to orient themselves towards in order to justify their existence. I also think that women are often socialized to weaponize social and relational systems because historically, those systems were one of the few forms of power women had access to. So, social alliances, reputation, inclusion, exclusion, emotional perception, and group consensus becomes incredibly powerful tools. And unfortunately, marginalized women often become the easiest targets within those systems, especially autistic women, because
Oh yeah, they definitely have a hive mind, you know, like as a dude you experience this. Like you could be like a girl could find you attractive, but like if her friends don't approve of you, like she won't touch you with a 10-foot pole, you know. Yeah, I mean like it's definitely one of those they have their own sort of again like hive mind of we all have to kind of like agree on the same things and have the same political opinions and the same taste in makeup and music and this and that, and there might be some small deviations here and there, but like for the most part, especially like with dating, like if the top dog, if the alpha female in the group like looks at a dude on the street and goes, ew, icky, he gives me the ick, then the rest of them, especially if like one other girl agrees verbally, like, yeah, I know. Let's say it's a group of 5 women. Well, the top alpha female said that guy gave her the ick. And another female verbally, outwardly expressed that she agrees. So let's say one of the other 3 actually found that guy to be attractive. She has to go with the flow. She has to outwardly express that she finds that guy to be unattractive, right? She has to be a part of that hive mind. She can't be the one girl who's like, I actually think that he's hot, you know? And so like, even if one of those girls is into that guy, he's never going to have a shot with her because he's not approved by the group, right? The only exception would be if the guy was like exceptionally good looking, like an 11 out of 10. But, those don't really count because those are outliers. Those are not the average, right? So we're talking about the average experiences here. Well, let's finish this up.
Autistic women often don't perform the expected social rituals correctly. We may not flatter correctly, we may not emotionally mirror correctly, we may not socially rank correctly, we may not participate in gossip correctly, we may not understand alliance building correctly, and if you don't understand the rules of the system, you become incredibly vulnerable inside it. And I also think that the consequences of this gets amplified when you are a woman yourself and you are conventionally attractive. Because when other women see that you are also a woman,
Bro, is this woman really going to start talking about how being attractive makes it worse? An attractive woman? Because, like, okay, you have some quirks about your mannerisms and maybe you don't do eye contact that great. And it's worse because you're an attractive woman? Like, for real? Come on, give me a fucking break, dude. Like, man, step in the shoes of a dude. Like, if you're going to talk about, like, how hard it is when it comes to, like, socializing, try, like, taking your social traits and being, like, an average-looking guy. Like, don't start complaining about being an attractive girl. Like, you have absolutely nothing to complain about if you're an attractive girl. Like, there's just nothing. Other than, like, safety, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you need to be a little bit more aware of your safety when you go out in public. But I shouldn't say there's nothing to worry about, But, like, when you're talking about, like, the social dynamics, like, come on. Come on. Don't bullshit me.
Expect you to know about those social contracts and be operating within those social contracts. And so they're going to be harder on you when you miss certain signals. They don't think, oh, this person might have just missed a signal. They will oftentimes judge, oh, Irene purposefully didn't reciprocate me or mirror me because she doesn't want to, because she isn't an ally, you know, things like that. Whereas let's say a woman judging a man, she might be more forgiving, like, oh, men just don't know, whatever. You know, again, I'm generalizing, but women tend to be a lot harder on other women than they are of men when it comes to these sort of invisible social contracts and rules. And I think conventionally attractive women end up being targeted more because people oftentimes assumes that attractive women are socially aware, strategic, intentional, and socially skilled. So if you're autistic, attractive, and quiet, the trifecta, people will often project motives onto you that aren't even real. Your silence gets interpreted as arrogance. Your awkwardness gets interpreted as manipulation. Your independence gets interpreted as superiority. And your social withdrawal gets interpreted as judgment. I don't know about you guys, and I don't want to admit that I am conventionally attractive because I don't think about attractiveness in that way.
Oh, come on. You're hot. Shut the fuck up. You're hot. I don't want to admit that I'm conventionally attractive. I don't think about attractiveness that way. Well, you obviously know how to do your makeup. You know how to do your hair. You know how to like your tattoos, add some aesthetic to you, the jewelry. Like, come on. I don't think about it in that way. Then what are you thinking about when you're doing your makeup? Like, the entire purpose of makeup is to make you conventionally attractive. So what the fuck are you doing? What are you thinking about when you're doing your makeup if you don't think about conventional attractiveness? Like, cap, bro, cap.
But I'm at least aware enough to know that a lot of people would look at me and find me conventionally attractive. And as a conventionally attractive autistic woman, I can guarantee you that I have been misinterpreted to be all of those things continuously throughout my life. People see me as arrogant when I'm just quiet. People see me as being manipulative when I'm just awkward. People see me as someone who thinks she's superior to everyone when I am just...
That's like me. That's like me. Like, I'm 205 right now and I'm like lean, with abs. Like, I have a lot of muscle on my frame. That's like me coming on here and being like, I don't really ever think about viewing myself as like somebody who has any muscle or like goes to the gym, but like, I guess I will say that like maybe I have muscle and maybe I go to the gym. You know what I mean? Like, dude, come on, stop.
Just independent. People see me as being judgmental when I am just more introverted and keep to myself. People end up assuming that there must be some sort of hidden intention behind your behavior because they cannot comprehend that someone who looks socially valuable could genuinely struggle socially. And yes, I understand saying this out loud sounds very animalistic and primal, and a lot of people would think it's not that serious. And in many ways, I want to say, yeah, it's not that serious. But I have been on the receiving end of these dynamics way too often to just brush it off as a comical movie of mean girls being mean girls. But the way that women play these weird social games is actually very, very intricate, and it is that serious and scary. This is how a lot of targeted people end up losing jobs, losing community, losing support system, losing access to things because the social wave can be turned against them and things like that.
Well, I mean, women are the ones who run society. I mean, like, they can completely make or break an entire company, right? In today's day and age, if a woman doesn't like a guy, she can go to HR and just make a false allegation and they're going to believe her, and the guy is going to be, suspended while it's under investigation. And then 2 weeks later, they'll say, hey, you probably shouldn't return to work. And even if he does return to work, there's going to be, rumors floating around about the guy. The guy's not going to have, the best time socially at work. And eventually he's just going to want to leave anyways. You know what I mean? Women own the social hierarchy itself. even the social hierarchy of women and men, it's all dictated by women, because like everything that a man does is for women, like bar none, full stop, full send. Everything that a man does is for women. Okay. And so if women only spread their legs for guys who were 400 pounds, morbidly obese, like starting right now, women only had sex with guys who are 400 pounds, morbidly obese. In 3 months from now, every dude would be 400 pounds, morbidly obese. All the gym bros, all the, you go on YouTube and they're like, yo, you got to be lean, bro. Like, it's the only way. They'd be 400 pounds, morbidly obese. If like legit, women only slept with those types of guys. Okay. So like at the end of the day, like what men do is going to be dictated by what women reward with sex. Like ultimately, all roads lead down to sex. I mean, it is what it is. We're animals, I mean, we're all adults here, right? If you're watching this. So like, it is what it is, it's so, yeah, I mean, they already own the social hierarchy itself, right? So, they dictate what happens with entire countries, basically. The only exception, I guess, would be like, if it's something crazy like Saudi Arabia, which, I mean, they don't let their women have any rights, which is not, it's not moral, right? That's not the right thing to do, obviously. So people need to have their freedoms and their rights, and good thing that, the earlier waves of feminism were able to really make sure that, something like that would never happen here, which, obviously I don't really think that was ever an issue, but I mean, it was ever, something that would have happened, but, they were able to liberate themselves to the point they're at right now. But now we're at a point where, we're dealing with shit like this, where there are social hierarchies that are a little bit more convoluted and complex to understand if you don't know. I mean, once you understand it, it becomes more simple. But like, if you don't understand it, it seems really complex and convoluted. And, then you have discussions like this. So I just went on like 5 different tangents, but I had to make this more interesting. You know what I mean?
And honestly, I think a lot of autistic women become deeply traumatized by female group dynamics because we spend years accidentally violating invisible rules we did not even know existed. You start realizing that warmth isn't always safe, care isn't always unconditional, niceness doesn't always mean honesty, and belonging can disappear overnight. Eventually, you become hyper aware of how quickly groups can collectively turn on someone once they've unconsciously been categorized as the outsider. And so at this point in my life, when I am meeting people and building relationships with them, there's a few things that I have to look out for, especially because I'm a woman, I'm autistic, and I am conventionally attractive. I have to be very weary of the types of people I'm surrounding myself with, because if I am not weary of that, I will end up fostering relationship dynamics with people that are gonna be very, very, very draining, because they have expectations of me and because I won't have space to be myself without triggering other people. And so the things that I look out for is how much of myself can I be without it triggering other people, right? Can they just let me be myself without having to feel insecure with themselves, or without becoming defensive or needing to bring me down, or needing me to bring myself down in order to make them feel better, or needing me to consistently make them feel good about themselves just because they feel bad that I am myself, right? I don't want to sign up for that sort of exchange. It is exhausting. I end up becoming a source of regulation for a person, and I didn't even sign up for it, right? Let alone I'm not capable of it. Like, I have a lot of things I have to do for myself to exist within systems that already inherently don't support me. And so I need every bit of energy I have to simply exist. I cannot expend extra energy just to keep other people afloat. And that is different than a friend who needs support and reassurance every now and then. There's a difference, right? I have friends, I have loved ones where they'll come to me and ask for encouragement, ask for warmth and affection, and for me to remind them of their good qualities. And I am more than happy to do so. But just existing in and of itself shouldn't be something that I am continuously justifying on their behalf. You know what I'm saying? Another thing that I look out for is I need the people in my life to do things because they want to. They do things for me because they want to. They love me because they want to. They support me because they want to. I just cannot.
Bro, this shit is milk toast, man. Like, say something. You know what I mean? Like, what is this? It's like Barney and Friends. It's like, I want the people in my life to, like, be happy. It's just, what am I supposed to do with that?
Not healthily engage in any sort of relational dynamics with someone who I always have to fear. Are they doing this because they're expecting me to give them something specific back and they're going to hold it against me if I don't? I cannot do that, because if that's what it's going to be, then I will reject what they're doing for me all the time. And then what's the point of a relationship with someone if you're constantly needing to tell someone, don't do that for me, don't say that? I need to know that if you're doing something for me or saying something, you're doing it out of your own genuine expression and desires. We are in charge of ourselves, right? We collaborate on an equal relationship, an equal give and take, and we coexist and we can even co-regulate. But that's something we are equally asking for and building together. And another thing that I look for is just someone who's able to be honest, even when honesty isn't easy, even if it risks hurting my feelings. I need someone to be willing to be confrontational and honest enough to tell me when something is bothering them, telling me when they have a certain need that's not getting met, telling me when they're frustrated, disappointed, telling me what's going on, right? And actually opening up a conversation about it, because I cannot sit here and ruminate on what's going on with a person, how to look out for certain signals that might mean something, and how to interpret that, right? Oh, this person looked really happy and smiley and loving, but are they actually, or are they actually secretly upset with me? And if they are secretly upset with me, what did I do wrong and how do I make up for it? I cannot do that, dude. Like, really, I cannot do that. When I love someone and I care.
And you shouldn't do that. I mean, really. You should, like, it shouldn't be anything past face value, honestly. Like, friendships. It doesn't mean that they can't be deep, but what it means is, like, they should be able to communicate with you at face value, so you should be able to believe what they're saying at face value. It shouldn't be like this manipulation bullshit.
I will do so much for them, but I cannot do anything unless it is brought to me first. It is so important to me that love is shown between me and another person through having explicit and vulnerable conversations with each other. Even if that means someone is telling me I hurt their feelings, even if that means they're telling me I failed them, I need them to tell me that. I need them to explain how it impacted them, explain what they expect from it, so that we could have a conversation, so that I could better understand, and so that we could collaborate on what to do about it, right? If they don't open up the doorway into understanding what's going on within them, then I will never know that there's something happening beneath the surface within them. I will never be given the opportunity to do something about it. You know what I'm saying? And when I care about someone, I want that opportunity to learn about them and do something to support them. Anyways, y'all, that is gonna be it for today's video. I'm gonna be really interested to see what you guys think. Be nice, be respectful.
I went a little hard because, you know, it's kind of the nature of my vibe on some of these response videos. You know, I got to make it interesting. But, you know, to be honest, she seems pretty cool. Like, nothing against her. You know, yeah. Okay, let's learn how to speak. All right. She seems pretty intelligent and cool. Obviously, she's hot. She pretends like she doesn't know that. Bullshit. Stop the cap. But yeah, nothing against this girl, for real. Nothing against her. But there were some things, like, the being attractive makes it harder. I get what she's saying, because people will have the expectation, if you're attractive, that you're going to be a little bit more like a certain type of way socially. I've actually experienced this myself, because I'm more of an introvert myself, but I have this, like, I'm a little bit over 6 feet tall. I'm muscular. I'm lean. I have a jawline. Like, I look like the prototypical, like, douchebag, you know what I mean? Like, gym bro, douchebag, ex-football player. Like, I should be this loudmouth, like, cocky guy, and people, when they first meet me, I think assume I'm gonna have that persona, and then over time they realize this guy's, like, deep and thoughtful and, like, kind of keeps to himself, but, like, at the same time he knows how to socialize, and, like, so I think when you do start from a place of, like, being attractive and standing out in that type of a way, people will have their preconceived notions about you, and you do kind of have to deal with that. So I kind of get what she's saying. Maybe I went a little bit too hard on that part, but I'm not going to have too much sympathy for a girl who's attractive, like, when it comes to anything social, because they own everything social. So, not too much. Like, like I said, if this Asian girl were born as a dude with the exact same sort of, like, autistic traits, she would be working in a dungeon warehouse. So, well, he would be, because it would be the male version of her, right? So he would be working in a dungeon warehouse. So, is there anything even left of this video, or should I just call it quits? There's a minute and a half. Like, I think that we've already kind of gone over everything. She's kind of doing the wrap up, and if it's anything like her disclaimer, it's probably going to be, like, drawn up as fuck. So, drawn out as fuck. Is it because I've been speaking for half an hour without drinking anything? Because, like, I love this energy drink. It's this Lucky Energy, and it has this, like, cat. Okay, low battery. Yeah, you shouldn't be low battery. Okay, we're good. It has this cat with glasses, okay? And there are different flavors. This is the only flavor that has the cat with the glasses on it. It's OG Luck. And I bought all of them at Walmart. Like, I literally put, like, 10 of them in my cart. And then, like, every time I go there, I buy all of them. They're like $2 each. They're really fucking good. There's no sugar or anything. It has maca. It has ginseng, beta-alanine, taurine, 200 milligrams of caffeine. This shit is the bomb, bro. To bring back 2000s terminology, this shit is the bomb. And so I drank that right before starting this video. Maybe my system is telling me it's time to re-up. That's the only way I'm actually going to be able to speak in a way that people can understand me. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. This really, honestly, has been fun, and I'm at 495 subscribers. If you are still watching, congratulations. You made it to the end. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, subscribe. I mean, like, at 500, I'm going to respond to Clavicular's latest interview. I think it was with who the fuck was it? It was Vlad. Was it Vlad? I don't know. It was like an hour and 20 minutes long, but it was a long one. So I'm gonna respond to the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, and then at 666, I'm thinking about doing something crazy. Maybe like a drunk reaction. I haven't drank in a long time, but it would be kind of fun. 666. I'll celebrate it with some alcohol. You know what I mean? So maybe we could do something where it's like 6 shots, 6 short videos, and then 6 something else. Maybe like a food item or something like that. 6 bean and cheese burritos from Taco Bell. I don't know. I'll figure something out, but we'll do something fun for the 666 subscriber mark for sure. So be sure to subscribe. The more subs I have, the more effort I'm going to put into this channel, and it's only going to get better. So, you know, if you want to subscribe and stick around and see where we go from here, I would appreciate it. If you just want to watch and not sub, I don't care about that either. You know what I mean? Like, you're giving me a view. That's cool. But, you know, I mean, why not sub? You know, what do you have to lose? You can always unsub tomorrow, or in a week from now, in 2 weeks from now. Right? Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I don't even know if anybody, not a single person has made it to this point. Like, I could say anything right now, and like, I don't think anybody would even know. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. See you guys next time. And talk to you guys later. Bye.